forges lasting partnerships that fend off crises, to lead partnerships that pace up the move towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to better manage the present and better sustain the future for all. Join us in person and online for 4 days of proactive deliberations at the 2023 Islamic Development Bank Group Annual Meetings. From the center of one of the most magnificent civilizations on the face of the earth, that has inspired millions of people all over the world, from where vision and perseverance have turned dunes of sand into an iconic land of productivity and modernity, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the birthplace and headquarters country of the Islamic Development Bank, is actively supporting ISDB in inviting ministers, policymakers, economy and finance leaders of its 57 member countries, as well as private sector chiefs, international development players and global partners for the 2023 ISDB Group Annual Meetings in the iconic city of Jeddah. Under the patronage of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for yet another exhilarating high-profile assembly at a crucial moment where multifaceted crises are looming. An assembly that builds on the collective will to spearhead homegrown and climate-friendly progress, sets the stage for a more resilient and sustainable development, and forges lasting partnerships that fend off crises, to lead partnerships that pace up the move towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to better manage the present and better sustain the future for all. Join us in person and online for 4 days of proactive deliberations at the 2023 Islamic Development Bank Group Annual Meetings.
To start our ceremony, are verses from the Quran recited by Dr. Abdulaziz Al-Ansari.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام صدق الله العظيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Peace be upon you, Your Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen.
من يشاهدنا عبر شاشات مساء الخير. أرحب بكم أنا وأم الدخيل ترحيبا يناسب حجم الحدث تحت رعاية خادم الحرمين الشريفين الملك سلمان بن عبد العزيز آل سعود. تنطلق الاجتماعات السنوية لمجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية 2023 بعنوان إقامة الشراكات درءا للأزمات. هنا في المملكة العربية السعودية في مدينة جدة التي انطلقت منها فكرة تأسيس البنك الإسلامي للتنمية عام 1975 الموافق 1395 للهجرة بهدف أساسي مشترك وهو دعم اقتصاد الدول الإسلامية. واليوم بعد 49 عاما على تأسيسه يضم البنك الإسلامي للتنمية 57 بلدا عضوا في 4 قارات ويلمس حياة واحد من كل 5 من سكان العالم. هذا التأثير واسع النطاق عابر حدود القارات جعل من البنك الإسلامي للتنمية بنكا تنمويا متعدد الأطراف يعمل على تمكين الشعوب من أجل مستقبل مستدام في البلدان والمجتمعات الإسلامية حول العالم. وتعد هذه الاجتماعات السنوية لمجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية بمثابة مساحة ثرية ومنصة مهمة للقادة الخبراء صانعي السياسات والفاعلين في مشهد التنمية تحديدا للاجتماع معا ومناقشة قضايا التنمية الحرجة وأهمية التعاون في مواجهة التحديات التي تواجه البلدان الأعضاء في البنك الإسلامي للتنمية. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة الحضور الكرام بالصوت والصورة نستعرض معكم فيديو يجسد رحلة التنمية للبنك الإسلامي للتنمية. لنشاهد.
The world that we know, edge of a new era, rife with opportunities and challenges. It is yet to become a world that we deserve and desire. There is a long way ahead and a tight race against time to reverse the setbacks and build the life that we all aspire to, the present that we live and the future that we long for come on the back of commitments that we make and measures that we take to team up purposeful alliances, to collectively respond to protracted challenges and to fend off multifaceted crises. In the Islamic Development Bank Group, we proudly carry on with our noble mandate and promising endeavors. In nearly 5 decades of impactful and transformative results, to the benefit of our 57 member countries and the rest of the world, we have forged thriving partnerships that are spearheading the global goals and cementing the foundations for a resilient future. While poverty, famine, disease, and climate change pose less formidable challenges than they do today. At ISDB Group, we take pride in providing 170 billion US dollars of financing in the past 5 decades to promote sustainable development in various sectors, improving the resilience and livelihoods of millions, expanding international trade at scales never seen before, providing global sanitation and health solutions, promoting food security worldwide, empowering women and youth and bringing education to all, investing in digital transformation as the prelude to equal growth, pioneering in renewable energies to encourage green economies, developing the private sector to flourish and prosper, and uplifting Islamic banking and financing as a prime solution for stability and resilience. We ensure investments and opportunities. We work together in opening new frontiers that focus on country-specific aspirations meant to ensure a better present and a better future, one that bears the promise of renewed hope and shared prosperity. Islamic Development Bank Group, 50 years of being relevant to the needs of its member countries, 50 years of significance and improving lives.
أرحب بصاحب السمو الملكي الأمير تركي الفيصل بن عبد العزيز آل سعود انضم لنا الآن. شكرا لتشريفك وحضورك سمو الأمير. نعم، لك منا أطيب تحية. أترك المساحة الآن لمعالي رئيس مجلس محافظي البنك الإسلامي للتنمية ووزير الاقتصاد والمالية جمهورية بنين، Votre Excellence Romuald Wadagni, président du Conseil des gouverneurs. Bienvenue. La scène est à vous.
Excellence, Dr Mohamed Al-Jasser, président du groupe de la Banque islamique de développement. Excellence, Monsieur Mohamed bin Abdallah Al-Jaden, ministre des Finances et gouverneur du Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite. Excellence, Monsieur Hissène Brahim Taha, secrétaire général de l'Organisation de coopération islamique. Excellence, Monsieur le président de la Banque africaine de développement, Cheikh Adesina. Excellences, Madame, Monsieur le gouverneur, gouverneur suppléant, Mesdames, Messieurs les délégués, Mesdames, Messieurs. Je vais, après ces salutations, passer en anglais pour le bénéfice de tous. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure and honor to welcome you to the 2023 annual meetings of the Islamic Development Bank Group. On behalf of the Board of Governors, I would like to express my sincere thanks and appreciation to the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for supporting IDB Group and its headquarters country since the establishment of the bank back in 1975. I take this opportunity to thank the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud and His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salam, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, for their generous contribution to the welfare of the human in particular and humanity in general. Allow me to extend special thanks to His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Al-Jasser, the chairman of the IDB Group, for his leadership in realigning the bank strategy with the needs and aspirations of member countries. Indeed, in light of the evolving needs of our member countries in the age of polycrisis, it's imperative to have a realigned strategy and promotes comprehensive human development and sustainable infrastructure by boosting recovery, tackling poverty and building resilience, and driving green economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, parallel to this realignment, enhancing partnerships for resource mobilization is also imperative. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, we witnessed how global crises require coordinated action for accelerated recovery. It is welcoming to note that the IDB has recognized that resource mobilization is dual. Thus, through efficient use of limited resources, and second, through pooling, financing, and capacities to maximize impact. This was evidenced by the rapid response of the IDB to tackle food insecurity with a comprehensive package worth US $10 billion and its partnership with Arab Coordination Group to address the climate crisis with committing a cumulative amount of not less than $24 billion US in climate financing by 2030. We are also encouraged by the bank's leadership in raising up to $2.29 billion US with various financing partners to fund infrastructure in member countries in Africa and Asia. Partnerships like these are testament to how the IDB continuously earns the trust of the development community and the government of its member countries. Given the limited resources and growing needs of member countries, we would like to encourage IDB to continue this trajectory of leveraging its resources and converting power to mobilize partners and resources to build resilience and foster long-term balanced, stable, and sustainable growth in its member countries. Ladies facing individual countries, it is easy to fall into the protectionism trap used as pathways to recovery. I must echo the sentiment of many development institutions that diversification is one of the key building blocks of resilience. We need economic diversification that helps countries weather external shocks, outward-looking policies that help ground in public sector actors, strategic approaches that are cost-efficient, replicable, and effective, and structural reform that are holistic and sustainable. Our growth model needs to be aligned with the new global reality while considering national priorities, specificity, and special circumstances. Certainly, the IDB Group has a crucial role to play in this transformative process. The group needs to scale up financing of the neediest member countries, especially the most fragile and least developed ones, and support the efforts in implementing global goals such as the SDG and Paris Climate Agreement. The IDB Group should also provide smart investment that supports climate resilience and early warning system to help countries adapt and mitigate climate change impacts. Ladies and gentlemen, from the food crisis to the floods in Pakistan, the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and the ongoing military conflict in Sudan, the theme of this year's annual meetings, Partnership to Fend Off Crises, epitomize our existing socio-economic challenges and the way to move forward. To maximize gain, timely intervention, partnerships, and collaboration will be part of the health of the recovery path of our member countries. To conclude, recovery, resilience, and sustainable growth are priority areas in all our member countries.
from the center of one of the most magnificent
Excellences, Monsieur Romeda Bodignini, ministre d'État, ministre de l'Économie et des Finances de la République du Bénin et président de la 48e réunion annuelle du Conseil de gouverneurs de la Banque islamique de développement, Excellences, honorables ministres et gouverneurs de la Banque islamique de développement, Excellences, Monsieur Mohamed Suleiman Al-Jasser, président du groupe de la Banque islamique de développement, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames et Messieurs, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. C'est pour moi un grand honneur et un privilège de m'adresser à la 48e réunion annuelle du Conseil de gouverneurs de la Banque islamique de développement, qui se tient ici à Jeddah. Permettez-moi tout d'abord d'exprimer ma profonde gratitude aux serviteurs de deux saintes mosquées, le roi Salman bin Abdelaziz Al Saoud et le prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdelaziz Al Saoud, prince héritier et premier ministre, ainsi qu'au gouvernement et au peuple du Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite pour leur soutien constant au groupe de la BID et pour l'atmosphère conviviale et les facilités mises en place pour la tenue de la réunion annuelle de cette importante institution spécialisée de l'OCI dans les meilleures conditions. Je voudrais également saisir cette occasion pour féliciter le président et l'ensemble des membres du groupe de la BID pour les réalisations louables que ce dernier n'a cessé d'enregistrer au fil des ans et pour ces initiatives actuelles visant à soutenir les efforts de nos États membres pour promouvoir le développement socio-économique durable. Monsieur le Président, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, nous nous réunissons dans un contexte marqué par une inflation sans précédent, le resserrement des politiques monétaires, le ralentissement de l'économie mondiale, les ruptures de la chaîne d'approvisionnement, ainsi que par la survenance d'événements géopolitiques mettant en péril la sécurité alimentaire, les moyens de subsistance et les progrès réalisés jusqu'à présent en matière de développement. Alors que la Covid-19 a plongé beaucoup de personnes dans nos États membres dans la pauvreté et dans une situation précaire, la hausse des prix du pétrole, des engrais et des denrées alimentaires a perturbé la chaîne d'approvisionnement mondiale et augmenté le niveau général des prix dans un monde entier, affectant ainsi de manière disproportionnée les moyens de subsistance du segment le plus pauvre de la communauté mondiale. Afin de réaliser une croissance durable, résiliente et inclusive, tout en relevant les défis mondiaux, y compris la hausse des prix de l'énergie, l'insécurité alimentaire et le changement climatique, le rôle du groupe de la BID en tant que première institution de financement du développement des États membres de l'OCI s'avère de plus en plus important. À cet égard, cette réunion offre une occasion idoine pour évaluer les performances des économies de nos États membres au cours de la période récente. Je suis heureux de constater que l'économie des États membres de l'OCI a continué à se redresser et en juger par l'augmentation constante de notre produit intérieur brut combiné qui est passé de 7,2 milliards de dollars américains en 2020 à 8,5 milliards de dollars américains en 2021. Tandis que le produit intérieur brut moyen par habitant a lui aussi augmenté, passant de 3 874 dollars américains en 2020 à 4 582 dollars américains en 2021. Monsieur le Président, honorables gouverneurs, distingués délégués, il ne fait aucun doute que l'intérêt accru porté par la BID à la science, à la technologie et à l'innovation, les activités de développement humain liées à la communauté, la priorité accordée à l'agriculture et à la sécurité alimentaire, le développement des secteurs de l'eau, de l'urbanisme et du transport, ainsi que les réponses aux défis du changement climatique sont des domaines où convergent les politiques de la BID avec celles des principales institutions de l'OCI. Ainsi, au cours de l'année écoulée, les diverses institutions de l'OCI ont collaboré efficacement à l'élaboration de plusieurs programmes de renforcement des capacités en matière de commerce et d'investissement, en particulier dans le domaine des crédits à l'exportation, des statistiques commerciales, des modalités du guichet unique, de l'investissement et du commerce halal. Nous espérons sincèrement que ces efforts conjoints conduiront à la réalisation de l'objectif de 25% du commerce intra-OCI d'ici 2025, d'autant plus que celui-ci a continué à augmenter successivement, passant de 18,6% en 2016 en 2019 à 19,72% en 2022. À cette fin, le secrétariat général de la BID collabore actuellement à la mise en place d'un environnement propice à l'augmentation des investissements dans les pays de l'OCI. En conséquence, des efforts sont en cours pour finaliser le protocole qui faciliterait la mise en place d'un mécanisme permanent de l'OCI pour le règlement des différends relatifs aux investissements dans le cadre de l'accord de l'OCI pour la promotion, la protection et la garantie des investissements. Monsieur le Président, honorables gouverneurs, Messieurs les délégués, alors que cette réunion s'apprête à approuver le programme d'activité de la BID pour l'année prochaine, il est important de garder à l'esprit le fait que de nombreux États membres de l'OCI sont confrontés à un défi de taille dans la mise en place d'une infrastructure sociale et physique de qualité. Il convient de souligner que la BID a acquis une connaissance approfondie des opportunités et des défis auxquels sont confrontés nos États membres. En outre, l'assistance de la BID va bien au-delà des ressources financières. En effet, la Banque soutient les changements transformationnels, encourage l'innovation, reçoit de nouvelles approches et promet les ressources
and leverages development resources through innovative financial products. Accordingly, the IDB's support forms a critical component in the context of implementing the OIC Dakar Port Sudan Railway project and similar other projects that open up vast new opportunities for economic development, as well as remain an important avenue for fostering region-wide connectivity among our member states. In this context, and as we plan to organize the second stakeholders meeting on the OIC Dakar Port Sudan Railway project later this year, I look forward to your discussions on how the IDB can bolster its support for this project. We would also recall that agriculture development and food security are at the core of the OIC activities towards promoting sustainable development in OIC member states. Agriculture has always been crucial to ensure the nutrition as well as employment for the teeming majority of the people living in the OIC countries. In this context, I would like to commend the launching by the IDB of a $10.54 billion food security response program to address food security crisis in OIC member states. I am confident that this initiative would go a long way in enhancing food security and increasing agricultural productivity in our countries. Finally, I would like to place on record our appreciation of the excellent working relationship existing between the IDB Group and the OIC General Secretariat. I am convinced that this fruitful collaboration will impact positively on our joint endeavors as we seek to advance the cause of sustained socio-economic development and prosperity in our member states. I wish this meeting successful deliberations, and I thank you for your kind attention. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Merci beaucoup, Votre Excellence.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha. And with regard to the future outlooks of the OIC, the comprehensive framework that covers the status quo and the outlook of financing infrastructure and developing it in member states of the OIC during these annual meetings of the IDB 2023. And in continuation of this gracious support, it is my honor to welcome the sponsor of our meetings, the governor of the ISDB Bank, Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Jad'an. The floor is yours, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I am going to give my opening remarks in IDB Group. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, considered a continuation of the joint will to enhance cooperation and partnerships to better horizons and to push them forward to better futures in order to attain our common interests and enhance our developmental efforts in order to be able to address the challenges of the current era and to attain our objectives and guarantee the futures of the future generations, God willing. We have an opportunity to enhance cooperation and give effectiveness to joint actions by attaining sustainable development goals, and by feeling that we have one identity and have a common faith, and in order also to set economic development goals and enhance efforts in order to overcome the hindrances to development, as well as enhance the flexibility in order to be able to address the changing environment around us. And in light of the global crises, this phase, more than ever before, necessitates that we concert our efforts and coordinate between the countries in order to attain the developmental goals, including empowering the youth of the Muslim Ummah in order to contribute to the developmental path and to provide the necessary opportunities for development and innovation at all levels and stages. Amongst this framework, the empowerment of youth can only be attained by creating a enabling environment with all its necessary legal frameworks and digitization. Accordingly, it is our duty and the duty of our organizations to work hand in hand and enhance cooperations and deepen collaborations, and to work together in steadfast steps in order to attain this developmental environment, so that we can see the youth of our future leading their businesses in an innovative manner, and to attain development and attain a dignified life that is going to culminate in sustainable economy. Your Excellencies, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was keen on enhancing the principles of cooperation and partnership in addressing the global crises, and was and still is leading, pioneering, and spearheading numerous global and international initiatives that aim at addressing global challenges on the developmental level. That is why the leadership of the KSA on a number of initiatives at the G20 level and the GCC level and the ACG level and international and regional organizations aiming at enhancing the economic recovery and facing the development challenges was first and foremost, including challenges related to enhancing food security, addressing the debt problem of countries in need in order to attain the needs of these countries on the developmental humanitarian level. I call upon all countries and development institutions in the Islamic world to cooperate and coordinate in order to maximize the benefit of these initiatives that aim at enhancing cooperation and collaboration in facing the developmental challenges and maintaining the interests of developing countries. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, I would like to seize this opportunity in order to announce the hosting of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the Golden Jubilee on the occasion of the passage of 50 years of the establishment of the IDB, and that are going to be held I would like to seize this opportunity to announce the hosting of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia of the ceremony of the Golden Jubilee on the occasion of the establishment of the 50-year establishment of the IDB, and that is going to be held in the city of Riyadh next year. And we look forward to the contribution of the Excellencies, the governors of the IDB in this historic event in order to affirm the efforts of the bank in the field of international development and to address the challenges and set the foundations for our future orientations. I would like to thank the IDB group and the member countries, as well as all the group entities, the services they render to the Ummah, and I ask God Almighty to maintain His prosperity on our Islamic nations and to guide us to the success of the annual meetings in the best interest of the Islamic Ummah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all.
جميل جدا، شكرا معالي.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Minister of Finance, for your very inspiring words and for the efforts exerted in order to address the development challenge. And we look forward with all certainty to the results of the annual meetings of the IDB for the year in terms of identifying the decisions and the solutions that are sustainable and innovative, as well as to face the major challenges of development worldwide. And now, distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Salman Al Jasser, President of the IDB Group, to give these remarks. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all worlds. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon the best of His prophets and messengers, our Prophet Muhammad, his family, companions, and those who follow him in righteousness. Your Excellency, Mr. Turki Al-Faisal bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, Your Excellency, Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Jad'an, Minister of Finance, IDB, Governor of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who is present on behalf of the custodian of the two holy mosques, Your Excellency, Mr. Romuald Ghoudanyi, State Minister in charge of Economy and Finance of the Republic of Benin, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Your Excellency, Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha, Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, Your Excellencies, the governors and alternate governors of the Islamic Development Bank, and members of the two General Assemblies, honorable members of the Board of Executive Directors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 2023 annual meetings of the Islamic Development Bank Group, which are being held in the city of Jeddah this year under the theme of Partnerships to Fend Off Crises. I would like to start by extending my sincere thanks and gratitude to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, may Allah protect him, for his patronage of these meetings, as well as for his gracious support to the IDB Group. My special thanks also go to His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, as well as the government of my beloved country, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for their continued support to the IDB Group. I also thank all leaders of our 57 member countries, Your Excellency, the Chairman of the Board of Governors, and Your Excellencies, the governors and alternate governors, for your unwavering support and for your trust in your institution. I have the honor today to welcome you and thank you for your presence in Jeddah, the bride of the Red Sea. I would also like to welcome all delegations, members of diplomatic corps, representatives of international and regional organizations, the Arab Coordination Group, the private sector, and civil society organizations. On behalf of all participants, I extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to the government and people of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the warm welcome and generous hospitality according to the participants, and for the facilities provided to the IDB Group to hold these meetings in the best circumstances. Your Highnesses and Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are meeting today in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the land of the divine message, revelation, and the two holy mosques. a land that has been blessed by Allah Almighty with His holy mosque, the first house appointed for people, and with the mosque of His messenger, peace be upon him. This country has been blessed with security, peace, and prosperity. In answer to the supplication of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, Almighty says, "And when Ibrahim said, 'My Lord, make this country safe and provide its inhabitants with fruits.'" And here I recall these verses from a poem by Prince of Poets Ahmed Shawqi entitled To Arafat, where he says, in the illustrious Kaaba, a corner welcoming the comers and a comer for the forgiving. Taha greets you in his purity. He knows the burdens that you have suffered. So say, "O Lord, guide my people to greatness and bless what they do, what they resolve." For almost 5 decades, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has been providing the Islamic Development Bank with unwavering support, embracing the bank since its inception. It adopted the idea of establishing the bank and was the most prominent founding country in 1975. This embodies its prominent role in developing Islamic finance and enhancing economic cooperation and integration among Islamic countries. Today, we listen to His Excellency the Minister of Finance saying that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is going to host the Golden Jubilee of the IDB after it has been established for 50 years. This is new proof to the role of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in entrenching the efforts of the IDB. Today, the bank is privileged to be a preferred channel for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia towards supporting development efforts in the service of the member countries, particularly the least developed among them. This is a manifestation of the loftiest forms of cooperation and mutual assistance among our countries. The bank was also a witness to the leaps accomplished by the Kingdom in its transformation journey to enhance its role as a strategic player capable of being a strong competitor on the global level. In this context, I am delighted to applaud the great efforts made by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia towards enhancing its capacities and expertise in key areas such as fair energy transition, public-private partnerships, global philanthropy, women and youth empowerment, and the inclusion of all segments of the society. The bank is committed to continuing this close partnership with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it appeals to it to enhance its cooperation in order to benefit from its expertise and resources as the model to be followed for driving sustainable and inclusive growth in many member countries. Your Highnesses and Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, rarely in post-war history has the global economy faced multiple crises simultaneously, as it has since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Despite the anticipated post-pandemic recovery, the crisis that broke out in Eastern Europe and the ensuing commodity market volatility have led to a 26-year high in global inflation, reaching nearly 9% in 2022. And dampening prospects for financial stability and growth. It is expected for this negative effect on the global growth rate to continue in the current year, bringing it down to even less than 3%. With such fading long-term prospects, it is unlikely that the goals of the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 will be met, with an estimated 500 million people still living in extreme poverty. Unfortunately, 40% of them are in IDB member countries. Despite this difficult context, most IDB member countries have managed to overcome the challenges posed by the global economy, but to varying degrees. Notwithstanding a worldwide economic slowdown, in the the member countries maintained an average growth rate of 5.5% in 2022. We also need to applaud the efforts of non-fuel exporting member countries, where they have achieved an average rate of growth equivalent to 6.4% over the past 2 years, driven by their economic diversification efforts and robust macroeconomic foundations. However, many low-income member countries are struggling with high inflation, debt distress, limited financial overhead, and widening financing gaps. These countries are also vulnerable to food insecurity and climate change. Your Highnesses and Excellencies, the bank in 2022 faced challenges imposed by both the exogenous and internal environments equally. For instance, the compounded global crises over the past couple of years have had a substantial impact that led to significantly reduced global trade and disrupted many global supply chains. In addition, the recent global trend of monetary policy tightening in response to inflation has made borrowing from traditional global financial markets expensive for our member countries. This challenging context has significantly hindered our member countries' ability to finance their own development efforts and reduce the financial headroom available for them, making it more difficult for the bank to intervene more effectively. In line with its accustomed endeavor to support its member countries in facing such challenges, the IDB Group has launched a number of ambitious initiatives, including a special program to address the impact of COVID-19 pandemic at $4.3 billion, which we have fully implemented, and a food security response program of over $10 billion during the upcoming 3 years. In addition, we have committed to contributing to no less than $13 billion to climate financing until 2030. Your Highnesses and Excellencies, allow me now to provide you with an overview of the IDB Group's performance in 2022. Concerning the projects, the bank achieved more than $3 billion in approvals for the first time since 2017. Overall, the projects we financed in 2022 are expected to benefit over 24 million individuals. In terms of the results expected from these approvals and our contribution to achieving the SDGs, I would like to highlight, for example, and not limited to, the following examples. We have invested $370 million in clean and renewable energy to connect 5 million households to the electricity grid. We have also financed the projects in the sustainable transportation sector with a total exceeding $2 billion in order to enable 2 million people to benefit from the road infrastructure. Our approvals from the agricultural and rural development sector exceeded $1 billion, which is expected to benefit approximately 11 million farmers. In healthcare, we offered $547 million to provide 5 million people with access to outpatient services. And we have established 40 remote primary health care centers and provided vaccinations to 6 million people. Concerning the other institutions of the IDB Group, the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation disbursed over $7 billion in 2022 to provide approximately 22 million households with food and purchased 33.3 million COVID-19 vaccines and provide 30 million households with access to electricity. The ICD, the Islamic Corporation for the Development of the Private Sector, has provided approximately $526 million to boost the private sector in our member countries, which is expected to create approximately 5,000 new jobs. As for the Islamic Corporation for the Insurance of Investments and Export Credit, ISEC, it achieved a record high in 2022, with insured business and investments reaching approximately $12 billion, mostly in the sectors of energy, infrastructure, health, and education. In order to multiply its gains, the IDB Group has continued to establish new relationships of collaboration and partnership and deepen its current partnerships to create greater impact. In the face of the challenges to food security and climate, the IDB Group and its partners in the Arab Coordination Group concluded 2 landmark agreements in 2022. The first is to provide no less than $10 billion in financing to respond to the global food supply crisis. As to the second agreement, it is a jointly earmarked $24 billion in finance for climate initiatives, and this is what we announced during the COP27 held in Sharm el-Sheikh. Furthermore, the IDB Group has been actively present in the international arena throughout 2022, where we participated actively in most of the works of the G20 under the Indonesian presidency, and which we are very proud of as a member country and congratulated on the success of the summit despite the very difficult circumstances that the world was going through at that point in time. Your Highnesses and Excellencies, the achievements made by the bank in 2022 are only some of the early fruits of the realigned strategy, which was endorsed by the governors during our previous annual meetings held in Egypt. Since then, the bank has been fully committed to the successful implementation of the strategy. And during the second half of 2022, we worked relentlessly to ensure the readiness of the bank to implement the strategy, where we addressed numerous aspects related to the strategy's 4 key enablers, which are human resources, organization, corporate culture, and governance. And as I previously committed before you last year, we have carried a number of internal reforms in order to enhance transparency and accountability, and we have revamped the Member Country Partnership Strategy, MCPS, in order to improve operational efficiency, as well as amending our organizational structure and rehabilitating some staff members and attracting new talents. And at the onset of 2023, the bank started implementing the new strategy, which is anchored in the Integrated Work Program, and we will continue to work on benefiting from our comparative advantages that we have as a multilateral development institution based on Islamic finance, aiming to maximize developmental impact and not attain profit. We will also work on exploring more effective solutions to provide more concessional financing, more empowerment of our operational delivery mechanisms, and to maximize and optimize the deployment of our resources. Concessional financing is indeed a key element of this endeavor, as we are fully convinced of the IDB's ability to act as an intermediary and development catalyst and to attract additional resources. This can be attained by broadening our engagement with donors and with recipient countries. For example, here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we are deepening our relationships with strategic partners operating in the philanthropic arena, led by the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center. I would also like to emphasize that we will continuously work on reassessing our strategic framework with our member countries and in light of the global dynamics and the directives of the governors. And we will work on developing a strategy beyond 2025 to lead the IDB into its sixth decade, God willing. Your Highnesses and Excellencies, we at the IDB Group are fully aware of the increasing pressures on multilateral development institutions and the reforms they are required to introduce. We are aware of the tremendous responsibility that we bear towards the billions of people who rely on us to provide them with the financial resources they need to build better lives for themselves and for their families. And as inspired by our realigned strategy, the focus of our programs for the member countries in the year ahead will be on three key areas, which are enhancing sustainable infrastructure, inclusive advancement of the human capital, and promotion of social development, as well as encouraging innovation and technological advancement. And as we look towards celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Islamic Development Bank next year, we are aware that we cannot do this alone. This noble mission needs the support and collaboration of our member countries, partners, and all stakeholders. And here, let me tell you that in the past 2 years, during which I had the honor of heading this profound institution, I have learned that achieving sustainable development is a complex and multifaceted matter that cannot be measured by the size of approvals, but rather, an integrated approach must be adopted to measure the development impact on the lives of people and societies. For instance, during one of my visits to Indonesia last year, I had the pleasure of visiting the National Slum Upgrading Project in the Dimawak district located in the Tanjarak Regency, which is one of the 49,000 villages included in this governmental project financed by the IDB. During that visit, I met a group of beneficiaries who expressed their gratitude for the positive impact that the project has had on their livelihoods and lives. More than 7 million people benefited from this project, where the infrastructure it provided helped them improve their economic and social conditions through environmental rehabilitation and the cultivation of tropical mangroves to purify brackish water, which gradually enabled the restoration of water and fish resources and their natural lives. In fact, this and other field visits I took to member countries, particularly in Africa, had a strong effect on me personally and gave me a sense of the immense responsibility and confidence placed in us at IDB. There is no doubt that after almost 2 years since I assumed my chairmanship of the group, I find my ambition focused on accomplishing maximum developmental impact for our work and business. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to our member countries for their continued confidence in the bank, as evidenced by their overwhelming support for the 6th general capital increase. Their commitment has helped the bank maintain its AAA rating for the 20th consecutive year. Your challenges are our challenges. Our priority is to enhance your resilience to the challenges and crises and to help you put your economies on a long-term sustainable growth track after the numerous crises you had to endure. Hence, the theme of our annual meetings for this year, which is Partnerships to Fend Off Crises. I would also like to express my thanks and appreciation to all my colleagues, the staff members of the IDB Group, for their diligence and sincerity. I would like to profoundly thank and appreciate the honorable executive directors and governors for their understanding and continued support. And it would be a remiss if I don't commend the solid and continued support that we received from our member countries. I particularly thank the host country, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the countries hosting the IDB Group's regional hubs. I would like to reiterate my gratitude once again to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, and his crown prince, may Allah protect them, and to all the government authorities for the gracious patronage of these annual meetings. I pray to God Almighty to alleviate the crises facing our ummah and the suffering of our people in many of our member countries, and last of which is the dear Sudan, and to bless our endeavors to achieve greater progress and prosperity for all communities that we proudly serve. I conclude with Allah's words, urging us to continue working and persevering, where He says, Almighty, work, soon Allah will see your actions, and so will His Messenger and the believers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman Al-Jasser, for this statement. This is the best way to conclude our ceremony, the opening ceremony of the annual meetings of the 2023 IDB Group annual meetings. We thank Prince Turki bin Faisal Al Saud for his attendance. Your Excellencies, thank you very much for your support, ambition, which we have listened to in your statements. Dear guests, thank you very much for your presence. I would like to remind you that the first working session of the Board of Governors will be tomorrow at 9 a.m. in this hall. Until we meet again tomorrow, I wish you a very good night. Assalamu alaikum.
civilizations on the face of the earth, that has inspired millions of people all over the world, from where vision and perseverance have turned dunes of sand into an iconic land of productivity and modernity. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the birthplace and headquarters country of the Islamic Development Bank, is actively supporting ISDB in inviting ministers, policymakers, economy and finance leaders of its 57 member countries, as well as private sector chiefs, international development players and global partners for the 2023 ISDB Group Annual Meetings in the iconic city of Jeddah. Under the patronage of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for yet another exhilarating high-profile assembly at a crucial moment where multifaceted crises are looming. An assembly that builds on the collective will to spearhead homegrown and climate-friendly progress, sets the stage for a more resilient and sustainable development, and forges lasting partnerships that fend off crises. To lead partnerships that pace up the move towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to better manage the present and better sustain the future for all. Join us in person and online for 4 days of proactive deliberations at the 2023 Islamic Development Bank Group Annual Meetings. From the center of one of the most magnificent civilizations on the face of the earth, that has inspired millions of people all over the world, from where vision and perseverance have turned dunes of sand into an iconic land of productivity and modernity. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the birthplace and headquarters country of the Islamic Development Bank, is actively supporting ISDB in inviting ministers, policymakers, economy and finance leaders of its 57 member countries, as well as private sector chiefs, international development players and global partners for the 2023 ISDB Group Annual Meetings in the iconic city of Jeddah. Under the patronage of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for yet another exhilarating high-profile assembly at a crucial moment where multifaceted crises are looming. An assembly that builds on the collective will to spearhead homegrown and climate-friendly progress, sets the stage for a more resilient and sustainable development, and forges lasting partnerships that fend off crises. To lead partnerships that pace up the move towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to better manage the present and better sustain the future for all. Join us in person and online for 4 days of proactive deliberations at the 2023 Islamic Development Bank Group Annual Meetings. From the center of one of the most magnificent civilizations on the face of the earth, that has inspired millions of people all over the world, from where vision and perseverance have turned dunes of sand into an iconic land of productivity and modernity. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the birthplace and headquarters country of the Islamic Development Bank, is actively supporting ISDB in inviting ministers, policymakers, economy and finance leaders of its 57 member countries, as well as private sector chiefs, international development players and global partners for the 2023 ISDB Group Annual Meetings in the iconic city of Jeddah. Under the patronage of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for yet another exhilarating high-profile assembly at a crucial moment where multifaceted crises are looming. An assembly that builds on the collective will to spearhead homegrown and climate-friendly progress, sets the stage for a more resilient and sustainable development, and forges lasting partnerships that fend off crises. To lead partnerships that pace up the move towards the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to better manage the present and better sustain the future for all. Join us in person and online for 4 days of proactive deliberations at the 2023 Islamic Development Bank Group Annual Meetings.